On this episode of the Naturist Living Show, the Women in Naturism Officer.
This episode of the Naturist Living Show is brought to you by Bare Oaks Family Naturist Park. At Bare Oaks, we offer traditional naturist values in a modern setting. Free your body, free your mind. www.bareoaks.ca.
Welcome, dear listener, to episode 164 of the Naturist Living Show. My name is Stéphane Deschênes. I'm the host for this podcast, and I'm also the owner of Bare Oaks Family Naturist Park. And I make this show with a lot of help from Samantha Graham, who is going to tell you a little bit more about that right now and how you can help support us.
Thanks, Stéphane. Before we dive into this episode, I want to take a moment to express my gratitude. This podcast has been a labor of love, but it wouldn't be what it is without you, the listeners. Knowing that you're out there, tuning in, sharing episodes, and spreading the word about naturism truly keeps me motivated. If you're not familiar, Patron is a platform where you can choose to support creators like myself with a small reoccurring contribution. Every dollar, no matter how big or small, makes a huge difference and allows me to focus on delivering content that I'm truly passionate about. This episode, I also want to acknowledge the wonderful supporters who contribute to the show through Patreon. A special thanks to 5 supporters. I'd like to recognize today Tyler S., Brianna, Ricardo, Sky, and Clark A. This episode is dedicated to you, and I can't tell you how much your support means. And to everyone listening, whether you're a Patreon supporter or just someone who enjoys the show, thank you for being here. And now, let's get started with today's episode.
In the spring of 2023, I had the privilege of being invited on the great big nude boat, which I did with Samantha. We did a whole episode, actually 2 parts, 2 episodes about that, which are some of our most popular ones. So if you haven't listened to it, people seem to enjoy it. So please feel free to go back. It'll be in the show notes and listen to it. And on that cruise, we had the privilege of meeting a lot of people, a lot of naturist people, a lot of listeners to the show. It was nice of all of you to come by and say hi. And we also met a lot of leaders of naturism, people very involved who donate a lot of time and money in order to keep this movement and going and defend it and promote it. And 2 of them that stood out. One was Linda Weber, who we had previously interviewed for the show, but I hadn't met in person, and that was a pleasure. And who also, you heard me interview in the last episode as now President Weber of the American Association for Nude Recreation. But I also met Helen and Simon Berriman from the UK, wonderful folks. I was particularly interested in Helen because to be a woman and to be public in naturism is not so easy. And Helen was brand new to it, and she had jumped in with both feet, like in a big way. So I sat down, Samantha and I sat down in their cabin actually, and we did a little interview. But it was a little too short, so I wasn't quite sure what to do with it. But then Helen took on another post, which is the Women in Naturism Officer for British Naturism, which is an even bigger job, which led to even more public attention and some difficulty. And so I gave her a call, and we did a second part to the interview, and that's what we're going to share with you today. So first, the interview on the ship.
Hi, I'm Helen Berriman, and I'm Women in Naturism Campaign Coordinator for BN.
Okay, that's quite a nice title. So what does it mean?
So it basically means that I try and encourage other women in naturism to share their stories, provide a platform to encourage other women to take part, and to show that all women have a relatable story.
Okay, so how do you share their stories? How do they go?
Well, the first thing I've done really is set an example. So I'm out there, I'm out and proud, and showing people that anyone can take part in Naturism, and to show that I want to try and show that Naturism isn't all about weirdos or sex. It's just a good way of finding acceptance no matter what your insecurities are. You will find somebody within that community that's relatable, and you will find freedom for yourself.
But practically, how do you share the story? Where do people find those?
I have Twitter, which I post on daily if I can, if there's something interesting and relatable to share. Otherwise, for British Naturism, I run a feature called Women in Focus. So it's a platform, again, to show other women that we're all normal and we all have a story that's shareable and relatable, to encourage other people to feel that they're not alone and they can relate in some way as well.
So I assume it's on the British Naturism website, and therefore you don't need to be logged in to see it?
As far as I'm aware, you don't need to be logged in to see it. So if you go on to British Naturism and then under campaigning, you'll find my bit, Women in Focus.
So what do you think is the biggest challenge to getting women involved in naturism?
That's a tricky one, because I can only relate my own story, and for me, I just felt it was something I didn't want to get into. I felt it was weirdos. I couldn't understand why my husband was so into it, and it wasn't, however many times he wanted to tell me how it would benefit me, I wouldn't understand. I wouldn't hear it. So the only time I started to sort of feel for it for myself was going to an experience myself and going to a naturist place and realizing that I wasn't being objectified anymore. People were talking to my eyes and not my other bits. And it was that moment that I felt like, wow, this is good. Other people need to experience this for themselves. And there's no amount of telling people. You just have to go along and try it for yourselves.
So how long have you been a naturist?
2.5 years. That's all. And it's great. And, I never thought I'd get here. And, my family as well. My mum in particular was brought up Catholic. And she's very, very accepting and understanding of what I'm doing.
So 2.5 years, so you've really gone from 0 to 100 very, very quickly.
Very quickly. Yeah, because I just want to share it, and I feel like I've missed out. Like, if I'd have found this 20 years ago, I could have helped myself mentally a lot quicker. And I want other people to experience what I have.
So how long did it take your husband to convince you? How big of a challenge was that?
Well, you'll have to ask him that, but probably about, most of our marriage. So we've been together coming up 8 years. And so, 2.5 years ago, I bit the bullet, as it were.
So he was practicing naturism before?
He was, but I was vehemently against it and just said to him, like, do what you've got to do, but I don't want a part of it. I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to know about it. Poor chap. And, he just allowed himself to be caught now and again. So, for example, he would take a little bit too long to get dressed in the mornings, or if I'd come home early from work, he'd allow himself to be naked at home or allow himself to be caught. And I think when the pandemic first started, I just gave up fighting. I was like, do you know what? Whatever. Let him be naked. He's obviously happy. He's not going to stop. And luckily for us, I guess, the first lockdown was really hot. And I put on a bikini for the first time in 20 years because I had body issues. And, even wearing a bikini was going to be a big deal. I did that. And Simon, being a hobbying photographer, took a few photos, and I wasn't repulsed. Started doing a bit of modelling for the mature, curvier woman, and people weren't repulsed, and I started to get a bit of confidence. And it was during that time Simon got involved in a normalising nudity project and asked if I would go along to a naturist place and do some modelling, and I agreed to go along as the clothed model where all the naked people would draw me. And it was then I thought, these people aren't weird, they're just doing normal things without their clothes. It happened to be a really hot day, and an hour into the shoot I took my clothes off, nothing weird happened. No one stopped and gawped. Everyone just carried on. It was unremarkable. And I think that was the moment I thought, okay, I get it. I get it now. And since then, I've just taken whatever platform I can to not go on about it, but just try and let people know that naturists aren't weird. It's just another way of going about your business, but without your clothes. And the mental health benefits have been, unmeasurable.
I'm just going to rearrange because my arm. This is a heavy microphone, as it turns out.
Yes, exactly. Am I talking too much? Am I going on a bit? No,
This is excellent. This is excellent. So you have very much a personal experience with the challenge of getting there.
Yes.
So, what would your advice be for someone who's trying to convince another woman to join?
Firstly, I would probably say stop trying to convince them, because the more Simon went on at me, the more my barriers came up. So Simon was able to sort of read me enough to know when to back off. And I think if you want your partner or a woman in your life to experience for themselves, leave some literature around. Leave H&E magazine around where, I try and write about other people that hopefully are relatable. Not just women, men as well, that have got some sort of body issue. You don't need to look a certain way to be a naturist. All you have to have is a body, and we've all got one, and they all come in different shapes and sizes. Bits may be missing, bits may be bigger than others. It really doesn't matter, and you'll find peace within this community.
And in terms of, if you are talking about it, what should you talk about?
You should talk about not the body, just talk about the things you do. Like, if you do go on a naturist cruise, then talk about what fun it is and, the things that you do. If you go out for dinner or a naked dining event, talk about the friends you've met. Exactly the friends you've met. We've made so many friends during the last couple of years. There's so many benefits. Another benefit is I've come off of what are they called? Antidepressants. So I was on them for like.
Can you do that whole sentence?
Yes.
Again?
Another benefit is I've come off of antidepressants in the last 2 years as well, because I was on them for a long time thinking I needed them. It was actually more of a habit. And it was during this time I thought, I don't think I need them. Let's try this without. And yeah, it's been great.
Yes, well, that's consistent with Dr. Keon West's research, isn't it? That makes you happier.
It certainly does. And it gives you a nice skin tone. Yeah, I can't tell you enough, the benefits. I can't stress. People think, naturism's not for me. I don't have the body. You do. You have a body. If you don't like it, just put your clothes back on. Simple as.
So you had huge anxieties. You had huge problems with it. Sounds like you didn't even like Simon walking around nude around the house. So, and yet you're now publicly promoting naturism. So obviously it didn't take long to accept it, and it was a much bigger concern than reality, right?
Yeah, I think having that first experience of other people naked, that was quite a big deal as well, is being in a space where there are going to be other naked people. And getting over that was probably a big enough barrier, as well as being naked myself. So, again, that very first experience, once I'd seen the other naked people, I was like, okay, they're all right. No one's looking at each other, It's just they're normal. They're drinking their coffee. They're going about their business. But yes, that eureka moment for me was that moment, whipping my dress off, nobody doing anything, nobody stopping their business, nobody looking either objectively or disgustingly. And I just wanted to share that with everyone. And I feel like I've wasted so much time fighting with Simon about nudity where he was right all along. I don't admit that very often. Uh, but he was right, and he knew it would help me, and it did. And I just want to help others now. So if I can help one person by showing my story, then it will be worth it.
And so the first experience, and then the second experience, was there any issues at all?
The second experience was at the same place. So by the end of that first visit, we'd booked a return visit to stay the whole weekend. And again, the same thing happened. Nothing. And we just, we came back with friends. And I can't remember what really happened after that. I think Twitter slowly posting bits and pieces. The followers just kept coming and coming. And I thought, oh, okay. Then I shared my whole story from my childhood right up to now, which included a rape when I was 14. And that probably had bearing to why I was so insecure about my body and insecurities with nudity relating to sex, because that's what I'd learnt. So yeah, I've wasted a lot of time thinking that way.
Now, the public aspect, the social media, that's actually interesting, because I know a lot of women naturists who have tried and have just the attacks have been nasty. The trolls, as they say. Have you not found that difficult to deal with?
To be honest, I've not had that much negativity. At least in the early days, I didn't. I mean, maybe people have said, "Oh, you're too old, you're too fat," and I just think, well, you've got a problem, I haven't. We did go viral at Christmas. I turned the comments off or didn't look, because I don't care. I don't care what people think anymore. It's making me happy, and that's what I care about.
Yeah, and you're helping others, but you're not helping the trolls. But it doesn't matter. They are who they are, right?
The trolls have got their own issues, and if they're happy banging them out on a keyboard, that's up to them. I just don't give them attention.
And how did you go from all that to a position with British Naturism?
That happened bit by chance. We heard Donna Price was giving up the role, and Donna and I connected again via Twitter, and she said to me to go for it, have a go, and that's what I did, really. Again, I think because my story is relatable, and I am relatable, hopefully, that BN thought, I would provide a good platform or likability, or so that's what I'm doing, really, any way I can.
Well, you're only the second women in Naturism, ambassador?
Well, campaign coordinator is technically what we're called, but I do feel the role needs to be bigger. I think any role within any organisation, where you're targeting minorities or minority groups, need much more focus and much more support.
In the role, do you only target women, or do you also try to explain to women to men, because that can be a problem in Naturism?
I target anyone that will listen, really. Nowadays, it's important to talk to everyone about it. But what I want to be able to do is provide a safe place for women to talk to other women, particularly if their partners are into naturism and they're not, and they don't understand it. I've started a Facebook page group for only women, so there is a safe place there. You're not going to get trolled for pics or direct messages from strange people. But yeah, as the world changes and more people are relating to identifying as women, then there's a platform there as well. It's minorities and supporting minority groups, and just telling everyone that Naturism is a safe place for everyone.
Do you know if other federations have the same role?
Not that I'm aware of, but I think there probably should be more and more and more, and every federation should have it.
And so, a message for the ladies.
You are beautiful. Try it once. If you don't like it, all you have to do is put your clothes back on, but you'll never know until you have a go. Oh my gosh, I'm a poet. Have a go. If you don't like it, what have you got to lose apart from your freedom?
And a message for the gentleman?
Set a good example. Don't nag. Just be there. Leave some information out there. Especially my column in H&E magazine. And just guide her, but don't nag.
And she may eventually even admit you're right.
She might, but she won't admit it to you.
And so if people are interested in finding out more, where do they go?
So my Twitter is my name, Helen Berriman 17. Facebook is Women in Naturism. And then you've got British Naturism's website, and then under campaigning you'll find Women in Focus, where you can read about other women that have got a story. You'll find something relatable there. I've met several more fantastic women on this cruise that we're on, so there's plenty more coming to show you that Naturism is for everyone.
So that was in the spring of 2023, and then the second half we did at the end of 2023, I believe in December. So it's been about a year since we last chatted, and in that time you've taken on a whole bunch of new duties and responsibilities.
Nudie duties.
Yeah, nudie duties, exactly.
Yes, I just don't like sleeping, apparently.
Oh, so tell everybody what you're doing now.
So when we met, I was campaign coordinator for British Naturism, inspired by a conversation I had with you and Linda. That role has now been elevated to Women in Naturism officer. So part of the executive committee now to be a voice for women and to represent women.
Yes.
So that's good. So that's like 3 months, I think, that is it 3 months, 3 or 4 months that's
So sorry,
happening.
I'm going to start you over again because Linda is my wife, but I was with Samantha.
No, I meant Linda Weber.
Oh. But Linda wasn't in the room when we did the interview.
No, not the interview, but we're just general chit chat around the table. Yeah.
Right. Yes. Okay. Well, fair enough. Let me go from that. So yes, for everybody who's listening, Linda Weber, who you've also heard on the podcast, was on the cruise last year with Helen, and and Simon as well. We made a lot of plans and talked about a lot of different things. So you've and as you said when we talked for the podcast last year, you went from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour very, very quickly on Naturism, and now even further. Has it all been good?
Yeah, I mean, since I met with you last Christmas, an article that was written, which I approved, went viral. Which is okay in itself. But what I hadn't realised is that other people could pick up the article and change it. So it's a bit like Chinese whispers. A lot of the message was lost. It got picked up by pretty much everybody, but the context was changed. So it ended up being an article where people just looked at the headline, gawped at the pictures, and someone like Lad Bible picked up on it and tagged us in the post, and basically my daughter was picked on for it. So last Christmas was pretty horrible with all that going on, but she dealt with it beautifully. She stood up to the bullies, defended her parents, and she's actually written a really good article about what it's like to have naturist parents in the media.
Mm-hmm.
So that's been there was some negativity there, but on the whole, it's positive.
I said you also did a television interview, which caused you a little bit of grief, I understand.
I wasn't really aware of any grief. I don't bother reading the comments on social media. It doesn't bother me at all. You've got to have a thick skin if you're prepared to be public about your naturism. But yeah, I went on Good Morning Britain to argue whether sunbathing in the nude should be made illegal. Now, in the UK, it is not illegal to be nude in public as long as your intent is good, as long as you're not willing, trying to cause harm or discomfort to others. So yeah, I was arguing that point, to the point where the guy who was my challenger asked for a photo at the end. I was like, oh, you're obviously okay with it. So yeah, I mean, there was a bit of a backlash, but most of it was positive that I was privy to anyway.
So you're doing media interviews. You're being very, very, very public as a result. And what was the criticism, though? You must have heard about the criticism about that interview. What was the polemic around it?
Oh, the usual. It's only naturists that you don't want to see naked that are naked, or too fat, too old, too whatever, and just don't look. It can't hurt you if you don't know about it. So.
No, fair enough. I did hear, though, that some people, you were nude on television, and some naturists thought that was not appropriate.
Oh, I didn't hear that either.
Oh, you didn't? Okay.
No.
What would you say to them?
I would say that if I'm given a platform to try and normalize nudity and naturism, then I'm going to take it. Someone's got to represent us.
Right, but what they would say is, did you have to be nude on the television because that seemed because you were the only one who was nude there, and that's some people thought that was that made it seem exhibitionistic. I guess I don't know. Well, I'm not saying I disagree. I'm just telling you what I read about it.
Being that you could only see my head anyway, it was probably irrelevant. But the TV show asked me to not be dressed, and I was quite okay with that.
Yeah, well, that is a naturist way of being. So it's always interesting to me how naturists have an issue with nudity at times when we're all supposed to be comfortable with it.
Yes, it's strange. In such a niche community, people are moaning about each other still within naturism. So yeah, you can't please people all the time.
We just had the swim gala in Serbia, and I'm not going to call anybody out, but there was a complaint from someone who was there that we were nude during dinner. Most people were nude during dinner. That was the wish of the Serbian Federation, but they didn't think it was appropriate. And I find that interesting that naturists would be uncomfortable with the natural human body. I think we've gone a little bit off the rails with the idea of naturism when that's what people say, don't you think?
That does seem a bit nuts. In fact, we went to a naturist club in the summer, and daytime you can be nude, but in the evening you've got to get dressed, and I didn't understand it. And the women put all the makeup on, did their hair, put the fancy clothes on, and I actually felt really uncomfortable. They were saying, you can borrow some of my clothes, some of my makeup, and I'm like, but I'm at a naturist place. I don't want to wear makeup. I don't want to put fancy clothes on. And I couldn't get involved with any of the dancing or anything like that because I just felt uncomfortable. I couldn't be nude.
So why do you think? Why do you think people have within our movement have those opinions?
I don't understand it. Maybe I'm fairly new into naturism, as you know. It's only been 3 years, and for me, if you want to be nude and you're a naturist, then you're nude and you're a naturist. I don't understand the whole getting dressed for dinner. Maybe it was like that when that club started, and it's a tradition that's carried on. But yeah, certainly need to move with the times, I think.
Yeah, although I think fundamentally naturism is about acceptance of the human body as kind of natural and normal. It sounds like I know that some people have a different point of view, but I think that's what it used to be.
Or maybe it has something to do with being in the sun. So they used to be called sun clubs. So you would be in the sun in the daytime, naked, and then get dressed for dinner, like you say, or for the evening as entertainment.
But if you're getting dressed for the purpose of hiding your body or fashion, doesn't that go against the fundamentals of naturism?
Well, it does to me. I mean, that's more exhibitionism, if anything. Sexualizing yourself with your fancy clothes, or it didn't feel right to me.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that some people have very low tolerances for cooler temperatures, and so they put on clothes, but clothing should be for function, not for fashion.
That's another one, isn't it? Naturist fashion. There is none. we just put things on for warmth, whether that's a poncho or just a t-shirt or whatever that might look like. But it wouldn't be, to get dressed up to the nines at a naturist event. Is strange. I don't mind getting involved in some of the fancy dress things that some of the clubs do. That's good fun. And the clothes always come off anyway after about an hour of dancing because you're hot.
Yeah, I still don't think that's right. I think that the fancy dress thing you can do anywhere else. Why would you do it in a naturist place? It's, to me, I've used this analogy a lot. It's like having a barbecue fest in a vegetarian restaurant.
But you could do fancy dress without clothes. You can accessorize.
Okay, fair. All right. Okay, yeah. Okay, so there's still no body shaming.
No body shaming. No.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, I'm okay with that. So what are all your responsibilities now? What are you doing for Naturism besides television interviews?
So for BN, I'm the Women in Naturism officer. So my role there is really to campaign, not just for women, but people in naturism, to come up with different events or ways for people to get involved, to grow an already existing team of women supporters that I have. We've just done, actually, a couple of weeks ago, our first ladies only afternoon tea for charity. We did that for cancer research or breast cancer awareness. And there was only 6 people, but it was a start. We made about £70 for the charity. So we'll learn from that, and we'll just have more and more all over the UK. So it won't be me at every one of them. It will be a part of the team. There's a women's only naturist holiday coming up in April of next year. That's already sold 8 tickets, so that's good.
That's good.
So it's coming up with different ways, or hearing about women, sharing our stories, sharing, which is why I've done the Women in Focus written series. That's part of my campaigning for British Naturism, is to create a library of stories from different women. So ultimately other women can find someone they can relate to or recognize themselves in, whether that be someone like my story or somebody who has one breast or whatever that might look like, somebody who's fat, someone who's thin, black, white, whatever it may be, you will find someone you can relate to there. And that's been quite popular. So that has now progressed into a podcast. So we've done one podcast so far. I've committed to do one a month only for now, because there's quite a lot of, as you know, a lot of work goes into it.
Yes.
So I've recorded 3 so far, but only one's gone out.
Okay. Well, Samantha was featured or wrote an article for you.
She's on my list.
And I think you want to interview her as well.
I do. Yeah.
And there you go, Samantha. You're going to have to be the voice as well as in the background.
Yes, and she's probably rolling her eyes now.
Yes, exactly. She's editing this. Actually, this is where you should be inserting something.
Oh, Stefan, always throwing me under the bus. No, Helen, definitely not rolling my eyes. More than happy to be a part of this journey for all of us, and truly blessed to be a part of your new podcast. It was such an amazing opportunity for me to have that platform to speak on. So thank you for sharing that with me.
Good. And how's the podcast doing?
From what I can gather, it's doing really well. It's had quite a lot of interest. I don't know quite how to measure it against what a bad podcast would look like. I don't know. But quite a lot of engagement, quite a lot of listens over the various different platforms. And people have asked for more, so hopefully it will be popular and people will want to listen to it and engage with it.
Well, it sounds like you're very busy, but are there other plans or other things to do?
Yes, so what else? So I also work at the Naturist Foundation 2 days a week on reception there.
Oh, so it's a
Yeah.
career now.
Yeah, a professional nudist,
You're
know.
a professional naturist, yes.
Yeah. And then my third commitment is a monthly article for H&E Naturist magazine.
Okay. Now, for people who are not from the UK, what's the Naturist Foundation?
The Naturist Foundation is the largest naturist club in the UK. It's set on 53 acres of woodland, and it's also a charity.
So it's not going to turn textile anytime soon because the
No
owners
chance.
have decided to sell or something like that.
Not at all. It will be there to stay.
How many members?
Now, that's a very good question that I don't have the answer to, but quite a lot. And we're not just restricted to members. We do a lot of activities and events for other people to visit. So we have an annual festival called Party in the Stark that sees around between 400 and 500 naturists come along once a year. In fact, it gets sold out. So this coming year, we're doing another festival. So there'll be 2 festivals at the Naturist Foundation. We do 2 naked 5Ks. I say we. I'm at the end clapping. But yeah, lots of different events that visitors can come to as well. So not just members.
And I was there once many years ago, and it's accessible from London because I went for the day from London. Could you stay there if you wanted to visit London?
You can. There's camping, but you'd have to bring your own equipment. Otherwise, they do have a chalet, which is self-contained, and there are plans to have more sort of glamping pods in the future.
Okay. How do you get there from London?
Get Simon to drive.
So you need a car, right?
I need a car. I mean, there's a station fairly near, and you could get you could walk actually from one of the stations. It would take 20 minutes or something like that. Or there's Uber.
Right.
Yeah.
How far?
How far from London?
From London, yeah.
About 20 minutes.
Yeah. By car?
Yeah.
Yeah,
well,
so that's not
depends
too
on
bad.
what time of day you go, I suppose.
Of course.
But public transport's really good where we are.
Right. So, yeah, your whole life has become naturism.
Yes, I live and breathe it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's what I do.
Are you going to get tired of it?
Well, it's always challenging in the winter in the UK.
Fair.
But there is stuff we can do. Like we just proven with the ladies only afternoon tea. We all got together. The heating was turned right up.
Nice.
It was nice to be able to get in the hot tub on a December afternoon. And it was nice. It was nice to have new women there, that haven't done naturism before. So that was always very good.
Are you going to involve the Women's Institute?
I've personally probably not, but I have had offers from other women willing to talk to the WI. So,
Okay.
yes, that's another thing that could happen down the line.
Yeah, for people who don't know, the Women's Institute is a very old and somewhat conservative group of women in the UK, right?
As far as I'm aware. In fact, Simon's stepmother is part of the WI. I'll say no more.
So, create the Naturist branch of WI?
I don't know. I'm maybe too young.
Yes. I understand our late queen was a member of the WI.
Quite possibly, yes.
Yes. It's good. So why does British Naturism need a women's officer? Is that your title? Women's Affairs Officer?
I'm not sure they were aware that they needed one until I rocked up, but it's being a voice for women, and men and women, regardless of how inclusive naturism is, do not think the same. So having a board of heavily male dominated voices isn't a fair representation of what women want, and decisions that are being made needs input from women. So as time's gone on, the exec is becoming a little more balanced with females. So I think there's probably about 5 of us now on the exec.
So if the board became majority female, does that mean your role wouldn't need to exist anymore?
Ooh, controversial. What would I do instead?
I'm just saying. Well, maybe you could say no. Yes, there's still a need, or there isn't. I don't know.
There's always a need. Yes, I think there's a need for each and every role that we've got going on the exec. You know, and that's from families officer to LGBTQ officer.
You have an LGBTQ officer.
We do.
That's good.
We have a minorities and diversity officer as well.
Right.
So we're trying to be there for our members, whatever that might look like.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's not just about the board. It's about having somebody who's got a specific responsibility for a specific group. And one in your case, which has a particularly hard time in society with body acceptance. So participation in naturism, I think, is more challenging. But do you see it that it's becoming easier or harder for women to participate in naturism?
It's interesting, actually, because I literally today just finished an article called Men Shut Up. And it talks about on social media, often men are writing posts that there's not enough women in naturism and banging on about it, or there's no photos of women in naturism. Say, for example,
I don't think that's true, but
at a group walk, you'll see men and maybe one woman in the photo. Now, that doesn't mean to say that the women aren't there. They just don't really want to be in a photograph that will be plastered all over social media. But the more the men bang on about how women aren't there, the less likely it is to encourage women to take part. Mm-hmm. There's an expectation for women to be nude. I heard of an example only today, actually, where somebody at a naturist place, who works at a naturist place, a man said to her, "Why aren't you naked?" And that put her back up immediately. And she didn't like his tone. And it was because of what he was saying, is that and how he was saying it, is that she decided that she wouldn't be naked. So if he'd have not said anything at all, she may well have taken her clothes off.
Right.
So shush, men, shush.
Yes, but at my club, Bear Oaks, as you probably know, everyone has to take their clothes off. So are you saying that that's not right for women? I'm
saying that there could be 101 reasons why a woman would want to keep her bottoms on.
Well, the main reason, the only reason I can think of is because she's having her period. What other reason could there be?
It could be that, I mean, this is a bit graphic, but it could be that you over-excrete, or it could be that your pelvic muscles aren't what they used to be. So perhaps an enthusiastic sneeze.
Yes, fair. I think that's why we sit on towels, though, is it not?
We sit on them, but what about walking around?
Well, I don't know. I've never. Certainly, men and women can both be incontinent, and that's something we've have had to be addressed before, and they can wear something for that reason. So,
speaking to some of the women that I do see that have like a sarong on or the bikini bottoms on, for some of the reasons that I've said, and they get tired of being called out for being covered up. Now, I'm probably sure they don't want to be covered up, right? The whole reason we're there is because we're naturists and we want to be free. But I mean, it's very easy. It's difficult for me to say because my naturism started after my periods had stopped. So I don't know what I would have done in this similar situation.
I mean, when you're the part of the problem is even within naturism, we don't have a lot of acceptance about discussing these topics. And you were a little uncomfortable yourself just talking about what could happen. And why can't we say that? Why can we not talk about these issues? Isn't that part of accepting who we are?
Yeah, no, I think we should absolutely talk about it, because what matters to one person might matter to another person.
Right. I'm not sure that anybody needs to ask someone, but except that in a naturist environment where it is the norm or the expectation, there will be assumptions made that somebody's having their period, but I don't know that there's anything wrong with that.
No, but I suppose some women are private about that sort of thing, or don't want to discuss it.
Well, yeah, but should they be? Isn't that part of the body acceptance? Some women are private about their bodies and don't want to show it either. But isn't that what we're talking about?
It's true. And once you're in that environment and you start to be comfortable, it's getting to that step already. So it's all very well, you and I, as seasoned naturists, to say, we know what it's like there. We know it's all accepting, everyone's welcome, no one's judging. But if you cast your mind back, or for me, 3 years ago, I thought all those terrible things. Oh my God, people are going to look at me. People are going to objectify me. People think I'm fat, too old, all of these things. And to actually make the leap and get me into a naturist place in the first place was no mean feat. And it wasn't until I actually got there. It didn't matter how many times Simon said to me it wasn't like I thought it was going to be. I didn't believe him, and I wouldn't do until I was actually there myself. And I was only there, incidentally, as part of a photo shoot, not for the Naturism. But I would never have gone there had it been, come with me to a naturist place, babe. Like, no.
But with us, the people who are most supportive in many ways of our nudity mandatory policy are women, because it's a great equalizer, and the only way sometimes to get there is to have pressure to do so. And if people cannot do it, then they never have to face it, right?
Yeah. I agree with you that once you're at the naturist place, we all know, like I said, what it's like there and how wonderful the environment is and how everyone's got your back and is there for each other. But you don't know that until you know that.
Right. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yes. And just to be clear, when you come to Bear Oaks, you can take time to adjust, and that's normal. But
is that an invite?
Of course. But you don't need time to adjust. I know that.
I think I'm all right now.
Yeah. You may you probably have to close off before you even drive into the driveway. But it's also understanding why people are there, and that there's a limitations. It can be, because I've seen it with men as well, walking around with something on and saying, "Oh, it's because I'm cold," but you can just tell it's more of an attitude of either they're not comfortable or they think that they're trying to be something else. They're there for the wrong reasons. So it's a complicated thing. And then it's not a discussion we have to have very often. It's not an argument we have to have very often. Occasionally, and usually we just ask, somebody reports it. I really hate when our members go and ask people directly, and you can't control people, unfortunately, but they tend to do it incorrectly. And we always train our staff to do it more as therapists, to, just ask questions, try to understand.
Yeah, peel back the onion, see what's going on there.
Exactly. A woman who's wearing a bottom, and there's nothing much to ask other than she's obviously having her period, and that's fine. But what gets funny is when they go into the pool and with their bottoms on, and you're kind of going, other people will come to us and say, well, if they're having their period, they shouldn't be in the pool if they need a bottom to kind of keep everything in there, right? And let's go, yes. And having I try not to have the conversation because I'm a man, but fortunately, most of our staff are generally in the office women. It's surprising that we actually have had to explain this. We had somebody criticize our first-time visitors policy because we explained that if you're wearing a pad and it gets wet, it doesn't work anymore, which is why you can't be swimming with it. And they said that is mansplaining. I said, well, it would be mansplaining if I wrote it, which I didn't.
Mm.
And as a staff member said, well, just last summer, I had to explain that to a young woman. So what is obvious to some isn't to everyone, which is surprising, I understand. But
That's interesting, because at the Naturist Foundation, there's a policy that you can't go in the pool with anything on. You have to be nude.
Right. And
irrespective of whether you've got a period or not, you have to be nude.
And well, that's what we say too. You have to be nude as well. And but then they say, well, I'm having my period. So, well, if you need a bottom because you're leaking that much, that's a really good reason to not go into the pool.
Yes, I agree.
So it's interesting what we have to discuss, but I think the reason we have to discuss them is because these are things we don't discuss in society enough, and that we're not open enough.
That's like anything uncomfortable. It is uncomfortable at first until it's spoken about. I mean, menopause is another perfect example. People and women have been really, really shy to talk about menopause for years, but it's being spoken about more and more and more now, and people are recognizing other symptoms that can be attributed to menopause, and it's real, and it does give you brain fog, and you do forget your words, and you do forget why you went to the kitchen in the first place. Right. But because you're talking about it, it's not just you.
Yes. Yes, exactly, and that's wonderful. And I know for my kids, it was also good to see all kinds of bodies and all kinds of things that people had. It opened the conversation sometimes to things that you wouldn't discuss normally in society because you don't see them or it doesn't come up. And I think that's very valid. But let's go back to your point about what men saying enough women in pictures. First of all, traditionally there's been more women than men in magazines and videos and everything else because they've been exploitive. More young women of certain body types. So that's probably I don't know if that's fair, but I understand why women wouldn't want to be these days in pictures and social media, because you must have faced this. People feel they want to put you in your place, mostly men, by commenting on your body or what you look like or who you are as a result of being a naturist. Have you not faced that?
I do not get that so much these days. In the beginning, I did. I got an awful lot of direct messages on social media, dick pics, innuendos, suggestions, anything you could possibly not want would come through. In fact, I had an Instagram account years ago, which I ended up shutting down because people are ringing me through it, like phoning me.
Oh, wow.
It was very invasive. So I got rid of that. But yeah, I just ignore or block.
Mm-hmm. So what do you say to women? Do you encourage them to open up and be open, and regardless of that kind of thing?
I think it's each to their own. I don't understand why people are afraid to say they're even naturists. I don't get it. It's nothing to be ashamed of. So maybe I've lost sense of reality, and because my work is naturism, my life is naturism, maybe I've lost sense of the real world. But what is shameful about it? I don't understand.
Well, I don't know if it's shameful as much as it's the fear of the harassment. I mean, as women are often make decisions as to what they're going to wear based on that, not because that's what they want to wear necessarily, but because they know if they wear certain things, they will be the subject of harassment.
But isn't it lovely not to have to worry about that, though?
In a naturist environment, yes.
Yes.
But on social media, you are opening yourself up to the world and criticism from anybody, and that's hard. I mean, I'm surprised you take it as well as you do.
Maybe I'm ignorant then, because I'm not seeing it. Maybe I really do zone it out.
Yeah, maybe, and that's good. Like you say, you're not checking out the comments and you're not looking at that. But I've known a lot of women who start and then give up, and because they're tired of the harassment and they're tired of that. There's a certain type of man I've discovered who I think they get a feeling of power, probably because they're insecure themselves, by putting women down, because they know that in mainstream society, commenting on what your, I don't know, what your nose looks like, what your breasts are like, what your waists are like, what your hips are like, and in a critical way, is often what actually hurts, because deep down women are insecure about those parts, and it causes them to shrink behind it, and makes that type of man feel powerful. It's sad, very sad.
Well,
But
I think I'm old enough now and comfortable enough in the skin I'm in to be fully aware that I'm never going to be the size 10 model, and I'm okay with that. You know, I spent 20 years trying to find a way of fitting into the beauty standards, and does it actually matter? No, it doesn't. And since I've made peace with that, and Naturism has had a huge part to play in that, I don't really give a shit what other people say. You know,
yeah.
I don't need validation from a keyboard warrior. It says much more about them than it does me. So you carry on writing your crap and enjoy your lonely life.
Well, so how do we convince women to adopt that attitude, like deep down, and actually feel it?
That's the thing. You've got to be okay with yourself and accept yourself. These images that you see on Instagram are not real.
Mm-hmm.
They're hiding behind filters, but photoshopping. None of it's real. And the reason why I do what I do and I am public is to say, look, I am real. This is not airbrushed. This is my body, and it's just a body. And whether it's fat, thin, tall, short, it's carried me through life. It's given me a child, and I'm grateful for it. So you don't need to look a certain way to feel good about yourself.
So young Madison, who's, I don't know, 30 years old, sends you a message saying, yeah, but I can't do it. I'm just not comfortable with my body. What do you say to her?
I would say, well, I'd find out why. You know, you'd peel back the onions a little bit. That women usually have a story. My story is a case in point that I always equated nudity with sex. That was my first experience. That's what I'd learned.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to spend a lot of time unlearning a lot of years worth of bad information. And yeah, so I would say to that young person, I'd find out what's their story. You know, there's usually something somewhere that is going to be the trigger or the thing that you can get around. But you can't force naturism on anybody, but all you can do is share your experiences and your stories. And I can safely say it's really helped my body image and acceptance of myself and of others.
Yes. And so if she says she wants to get there, and she said, what's the first step? What should I do?
I would say sleep nude if you don't already. I would look at yourself in the mirror properly and see you've got a functioning body. I would take that little bit longer getting dressed in the mornings. Just be used to feeling the elements on you. Even if it's just at home, you've still got air on you. You're not constrained by clothing or anything. I mean, at first, when you're walking around naked, if it's not something you've done before, it does feel odd. Of course it does.
Yep.
But it's a good odd. It's a nicer feeling. You're not constricted in any way. But it's like anything new that you don't understand. It's all going to be a bit strange at first.
I've said this before. We've talked about it with different people in the show. It's not easy being a woman in naturism. First of all, people all think that commenting on your body or what you look like is what women want to hear. And of course it's not, but it's hard to convince men of that actually is a form of harassment because it's not supposed to be about what you look like. What you look like is not for you. It's not for your pleasure to look at somebody. The body belongs to the other person. It's whether you like it or not is really not something to be shared. And I'm not even sure you should have an opinion on that. Of course, we find some people more attractive than others, but why would you criticize somebody because you don't find them attractive? It's not like they can change who they are. They are who they are. And yes, I know men say they'd love to have people tell them how hot they are. And even if you are, as a woman, if that's all you've heard all your life, it's exhausting because you realize that the first thing people judge you on is not who you are. The first thing is what you look like. And everybody acts like your most important value is what you look like for others, the visual pleasure you provide others, which is, I've heard from women. I don't know because I don't experience it, but I've heard it enough and I've seen it enough and I've heard it enough. I can understand how exhausting it is and how it can be demeaning. And ultimately, it gets into a lot of people's heads that they feel a lack of confidence of what they look like. So, but then when you become public, like Helen, and then you open yourself to even more public criticism and ridicule for everything you do. And when people are uncomfortable with the fact that a woman suddenly has some authority, power, or influence, they start to attack by criticizing because they think if they comment on the body, they can make them feel uncomfortable, insecure, and put them in their place. And it probably does work for some because we've built a society where women all feel that that's what's more important about them and what the only thing that they will be judged on. So yes, it's tough. And you heard that. And it's tough to try to understand the best way to get women to be comfortable. In the episode we did on single women in naturism, single women at Bare Oaks specifically, you heard how a number of women do find that we've created an environment here that is comfortable, even if it's not perfect. And you can go and listen to that episode if you want to hear a little bit more about it. So, since we did that interview, Helen has come out with a podcast called the Women in Focus podcast. So I will provide a link to that, and it's some really interesting interviews, and I would really encourage you to go and listen to that as well. So that's all for this episode of the Naturist Living Show. Thank you. Thank you for listening. Again, my name is Stéphane Deschênes, and I'm your host, and I do this show with a lot of help from Samantha, who makes the task a lot easier of producing the show. And she does all the time-consuming editing and put things together, does the research, and does social media. So thank you, Samantha. The Naturist Living Show's theme music is The Day We Met by Mark Hodges. And you can support Samantha on Patreon, as you heard at the beginning. Patreon.com/Naturist Living Show. One word. The money is not for me. I don't make any money with this. I don't get paid. But Samantha needs to earn a living, and so the money goes to her so she can spend her time on this show so that she can enjoy more episodes. Please keep sending your comments and suggestions. We really appreciate getting them. The show's email address is contact@naturistlivingshow.com or on our social media, which you can also find. We're on Facebook, we're on Blue Sky, and a few other places that escape me off the top of my head. You can also call and leave a comment. The show's phone number is 905, country code 1 if you're not in North America, area code 905-473-6060, extension 333, which is the phone number for Bare Oaks, and 333 is the extension where you can leave a message and take as many tries as you'd like, and you can even delete it if you don't like it when you're done. We can't promise that we'll use it, but we will listen to it for sure, and we might use it if you give us permission, and that's what you'd like. I hope you enjoy the show and that you'll join us again for the next episode of the Naturist Living Show.
This episode of the Naturist Living Show was brought to you by Bare Oaks Family Naturist Park. Traditional naturist values in a modern setting. Traditional values means that naturism is more than just taking your clothes off. It is a life philosophy with physical, psychological, environmental, social, and moral benefits. Bear Oaks Family Naturist Park strives to promote those naturist values in a modern setting that provides the amenities and services that our members and visitors expect. Free your body, free your mind. Learn more at www.bearoaks.ca.
Very good moustache you have there.
Oh, thank you so much.
So, Samantha, what do you think? What's happening?
I am packing. I am packing.
Test 1 2 1 2. You can only talk when the microphone. This is a very directional mic. Okay. And Samantha edits it, so if you don't,
Yes,
if you
if you
say
mess
something,
Okay, so if I swear, you can take
Oh,
it out.
if you swear, if you say if you stumble over something, just completely stop what you're thinking, recenter yourself, start over again.
or
All the messy stuff in between, I cut out.
yeah, or swear really good, and then we'll use that in the outtakes later.
and if you really mess up or something is really, really funny, then
Yeah.
that's usually what we clip into the end as like a little secret Easter egg
Oh, okay.
at the back end of the episode.
Right.
It's only if you pay attention and you actually listen all the way to the end of the song
Yeah.
and wait another second that you usually get this other. Well, we've been doing it for the last more than a year.
Yeah, a few years now.
You
Yeah,
get a
few
little
years.
bit on the end.
You just get a little bit, and sometimes it's directly related to the interview, and then other times there's something that he feels fits the interview, so we
I
add
find
it
some
on.
weird clip, old clip from an old movie or something like that.
I like
But
when he
it's-
messes up and
you
I
have to
cut
listen.
it into the end.
Yeah.
I just throw it off.
So a little bit of silence gap to give her a cut space.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. If you do,
I mean, we. Yeah,
and a full sentence. Otherwise, it's really. She can make it work though. She's become amazing at editing. So
Right.
yeah,
No pressure, I'm just having a chat.
You're just having a
just
chat.
having a chat.
Just
You
having a
don't
chat
have
with
that
the microphone,
damn
you know.
thing in your face the whole time.